Hey everyone, welcome to another quick video. Um, so I wanted to share an experience I had that I think many of us are sharing right now. Is that unfortunately, the GPU in my workstation, which is the sort of computer I use for, well, work actually, as it's my sort of daily driver computer, um, has started to behave very oddly. I think it is quite old. I think it's a 1650 Ti, and it was bought secondhand, and it's become quite unreliable. I'm constantly having to unplug it and plug it back in again. The cable that is to the monitor. I've tried numerous different cables and two different monitors, and it's the same problem. And those monitors and cables work fine in the computer that's sat next to it. So I'm pretty sure it's the GPU, not something else. So that left me in the rather uncomfortable position of having to buy a GPU, which is not, as everyone knows, that easy. So what I ended up with, which I was reasonably happy with how much it cost, was a Radeon RX 6600. So this is not a super high spec card by any means. In fact, it's reasonably low spec in terms of what's available. Now, being something roughly equivalent to a 3060 on the NVIDIA side. Why did I choose this card? Well, this was the only card I could reasonably afford, as in I didn't want to spend a huge amount of money on a new GPU, and it was the only thing in stock. So it kind of, this decision basically made itself. Anyway, let's have a look at it though, because it is quite fun to get new bits of hardware, and I'm sure it will be quite a significant upgrade from a 1650 Ti. So let's open it up and have a look. So for my workstation stuff, I don't actually need particularly high-end GPUs, because most of the work I do is either, well, spreadsheets and emails, like a lot of other people, or computer simulations that are actually CPU bound, not GPU bound, which I think in the kind of simulations I do and sort of network analysis and stuff, that's more common. I do sometimes use GPUs for deep learning and AI, but to do that, I have access to specialist systems full of things like Tesla cards and what have you at work. So I don't need exotic graphics cards in my desktop computers. I do actually have an old Tesla, it's a K40, which is actually reasonable for sort of doing, little bits of testing of GPU type code. So that's perfectly fine for that as well. Does also render video, which is useful for doing lectures and stuff. This looks like a nice card, actually. I think I paid, I shall stop the rustling. I think I paid something like £380, which I thought was reasonable. The MSRP, I believe, is somewhat less than that. I managed to find it in stock at, Scan International, actually, and I was able to pick it up from there. And here it is. It's a nice looking card, actually. Not that it's ever going to see the light of day once it's in my computer. So my plan with this actually is to put this card in the computer I'm using now, which I occasionally use for gaming, very rarely, and has a 1060 6GB card in it. And then I'm going to move that over to my workstation and do a sort of shuffle. So the 1060 will be fine for sort of work things, and then I'll get a little bit of benefit from this for gaming and what have you. Yeah, it looks like a reasonably well-made card. Obviously, it is the sort of lower end of the market, but it's still, it's got two nice big fans on it. There's an 8-pin PCIe power connector on the top. It's got 3 display ports and a HDMI out. I'll just be using 1 display port now because I've upgraded to a single large monitor, which I do like very much. I might do a video about that at some point. So yeah, hopefully this will be fine. And to be honest, I was not really, I was not intending to upgrade any GPUs for the foreseeable future simply because of the way things are right now, and I just didn't want to get involved in the hassle of buying that kind of thing. But if something breaks, you're kind of stuck. I did have I think it was a NVIDIA GTX 720 or something, but I mean that was just not going to really work. I do need some GPU performance in my desktop workstation, even if it is basically a CPU bound work case for me normally. The other thing I picked up, which I'd intended to do for quite some time and got a good deal on, is a new CPU. So I figured if I was going to upgrade one thing, I might as well do them both. The Zen 3 CPUs are easier to get now in the UK, at least. They're always pretty much in stock, and there's a little bit of competition there that's having the occasional deal. So this is it's the flagship one, which the name of which has just gone out of my head. It's the 5950X, so the Ryzen 9 5950X. And as I've just sort of said repeatedly, actually, is that all of my work is CPU bound. So this will actually make a huge difference to the work that I do. Simulation times will be cut down massively because the stopgap CPU that was in that system was a 3300X. So obviously that is a very different processor to this one. So this will actually make a massive difference to my day-to-day computing, things like running simulations, which I'm doing much more of now actually than I was earlier in this year and last, and database analysis and network databases mostly. So that'll be really good for all that kind of thing. So this was something I was intending to do. I was always intending to upgrade to something around the highest spec CPU that my motherboard would take, and keep that for, well, knowing me, at least 4 years, if not longer, because I do tend to sort of run my systems into the ground. But it made sense to upgrade at some point to the highest spec CPU available. And I got this for £670, I think, or something around that, which I thought was a reasonable deal. I could have waited for the stacked cache version that was coming, but and that probably would have had slightly improved performance for some of the use cases that I do rather. But to be honest, it's probably reasonably marginal, and I was kind of keen to get this now because I am actually using quite intensive simulations on a day-to-day basis at the minute, and that's going to be the case for the next few months, and this will give me just a little bit more headroom. Well, basically I'll get more done. Things like parameter searches to parameterize simulations and analyzing networks from generated by models and so on. This will crunch through that much quicker. So there we go. That's my sort of pre-Christmas computer haul. Yeah, I think that I, in all honesty, didn't really want to buy a GPU now. And I think I, in many ways, paid over the odds for what is by no means a bad GPU, but certainly not based on the kind of top end of today's. It's not really that high spec, but I will get good use out of it. I'm glad to have been able to get anything, to be honest, and I'll get my computer that I need to be reliable for my job back up and running. You may be thinking, why doesn't work supply computers? This is in my home office and at my office at work. then the university obviously looks after that machine, and it works perfectly fine. In fact, it's a very good computer. So they do, basically. But it's my personal preference to sometimes work at home, and I like to be able to maximize the work that I'm doing here as well. So I make that investment. Yeah, so hopefully if you're in the market for something like this, you're succeeding as well. If you're not, I guess just hang in there and wait. Eventually things will get better. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.